Hello, Lou Hamilton from Audible Elegance here in Cincinnati, Ohio. We are located on Montgomery Road in Old Montgomery, and we have a website, www.audibleelegance.com. We do work on Facebook, Instagram, X, and I write a monthly blog, and this month is an important one. I'll talk about that in another video. I thought right now we would go back and visit the world of trying to do your own cartridge mount. And what we received is a much older Riga. This is an RP1, and this puppy has seen better days. We have a broken lid, but it still worked. But we started running immediately into his request, which was to fix his cartridge system, and as you can see, this ortofon is bent quite nicely. And what he had done in an attempt to mount a new cartridge is he managed to break the lead going into the arm tube. Here you can see we have left hot, which is white, left ground blue. We have right ground, which is green, but he snapped off the right hot at the base of the arm tube. When these sort of events happen, because you're not using the right tools or familiar with how to mount a cartridge, oftentimes the arms are shot at that point, because trying to rewire an arm means you have to get into the gimbal assembly. And in the case of Riga, well, they use a continuous cable all the way through to their leads, and the ground actually is incorporated in the lead itself as opposed to a separate ground wire. So he had a situation where to do all of this type of work, sent back to Riga, we're looking at $200, $300, $400 to do it, and it's simply not worth it. The arm itself, physically, the bearings are fine, but this is kind of a fatal flaw. And it's a situation where he, got another turntable from us. But again, mounting your own cartridge takes a little bit of effort, and it's not always easy to do. Here we have, the original RP1 platter, and of course the belt of some vintage. So fortunately, we have some customers who have brought Riga tables in from Germany, for example, and they need a 60 hertz motor. They had a 50, and while you can convert the voltage, you can't convert the hertz, so you could never get the speed right. So he's going to luck out. We're going to have a motor for him. The motor seems to be fine, and we'll kind of go from there. While we're doing this, I want to show you something else that happens quite a bit with turntables, and it doesn't matter what brand. That belt should be round, and as you can see right in here, it's stretched, and that's because it was left for a long time, around the pulley and around, the inner platter or whatever surface that turntable uses. If you're not going to use a turntable for a period of time, or going on vacation is, sometimes it could be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. The best thing to do is to simply unsnap the belt from the pulley and leave it set so that you don't wind up with this type of shaping. And I'm going to show another video where we have a table in, and I'm going to show you what happens when the turntable is running with that type of notch. So here we go. So here we have a very nice P6 from Riga, and he brought the table in because it wasn't spinning up proper to speed. And so it was kind of like, what do we have? Do we have a bad power supply? Do we have a bad wall wart? Exactly what's going on. So the first thing I inspect is the condition of the belt, what's going on with the pulley, and what's going on with the outer edge of the inner platter. In this case, the belt had a very nice dark black ring. The ring also extended to around the inner platter area. and there was also black on the pulley. So what was happening with initially was that he wasn't starting up because he was actually slipping on all of the dirt, and it was making a squeaking sound too. So he thought there was something wrong with the bearing and watched a YouTube video about, changing the oil on a Riga turntable, which honestly, I do not recommend. They're very specific in what oil you wanted to use, and he looked it up, and it was like he had to buy a quart of it from an automotive store. So that's not really a nice idea. But I don't recommend fooling around with the oil in a Riga bearing unless you know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. But the other thing we discovered is that he had left this table sit for some time. So if you watch it, see, it's a slack belt, but look in this area and you'll see this nice little vibration every once in a while. And what that is that's the stretch mark that we showed you on this black belt over here. So that results in speed inaccuracies. So again, protect your belt, and don't leave it stretched out there for long periods of time. The other thing that we reminded this gentleman to do, if you're going to move a turntable any distance, not talking about in your house, always remove the counterweight because you risk damaging the bearings with it slopping around and banging. And always remove the platter because its weight, if it's bouncing around, is going to take the inner platter and bounce it against the thrust plate. And so you're going to wind up damaging the bearing as well. So in this case, he was fine, but he now knows very clearly, take this off, take the platter off when moving the table. It's a good way of protecting your investment. And it really doesn't matter the price of the table. I'm not saying you have to have a $10,000 table or a $5,000 or $2,000 table. Any table. Simply take the care of that bearing, both on the tone arm and the inner platter. And of course, as I was basically mentioning, don't leave your turntable belt on, because here we see, the stretch out point again. For those people who do have dirty belts and inner platters, take your belt to the sink, wash it in normal soap, nothing with lanolin. You don't want to grease the belt. And wash all the dirt off. That's perfectly fine. And clean the inner surface here. It depends upon what it's made out and what it's used. We used a non-lubricated contact cleaner to clean it off. And it took actually 6 or 7 Q-tips to get all of that black runoff. The reason that occurs is anything with a centrifugal force and spinning sucks things into it. So it's perfectly normal for that to happen. If you watch hurricanes, pardon me, you'll notice that they get stronger the tighter the eye gets. Same thing, it's just bringing all of that power right into it. And here it's just dust and dirt.